All right, hi, fifth grade. I keep calling you fifth grade. Y'all gonna be fifth grade in a month. But right now, hi, fourth grade. We're gonna take a look at some quadrilaterals now. I have several like I told you before. We have triangles, quadrilaterals, pentagons, hexagons, and so forth. Everything has a set number of sides. There's many different types of polygons. One type is a quadrilateral. A quadrilateral is any polygon that has four sides. It has four sides and four angles. And as I said in the video before, there are many different types of quadrilaterals. We're going to take a look at four of them: a rectangle, a trapezoid, a parallelogram, and a kite. Okay, so the first thing we're going to take a look at right here is a rectangle. Now, rectangle, the definition for rectangle would be any quadrilateral that has four right angles. Okay, so these are all rectangles because they all have four right angles. By that definition, you know what else would also be a rectangle? A square. Squares are rectangles because they all have four right angles. Okay? Now, a rectangle, anything with four right angles. A trapezoid is a little bit different. For a trapezoid, the definition we're going to use is a quadrilateral that has one pair of parallel lines. Now, if you'll remember, parallel lines are lines that do not touch. Okay? For a trapezoid, you will always see that a trapezoid has one pair of lines that do not touch. Those two lines right there are parallel. Okay, the other two are not. In this one, these two lines are parallel. They will never touch no matter how long they get. The other two lines are not parallel. Okay, now let's talk about parallelogram. A parallelogram has two pair of parallel lines. Two pairs of parallel lines. Now, for these parallelograms, I can see that this pair of lines, when I say pair, I mean two. Those two lines, that pair, they are parallel. Then I have another pair of lines that are parallel. Those two yellow lines are parallel. That makes that polygon a parallelogram. Okay? Now if I look at the other shapes, this is also a parallelogram because it has one pair of parallel sides, then it has another pair of sides that are parallel. Okay? Now this shape down here is a rectangle because it has four right angles. But this shape down here is also a parallelogram because it has one pair of parallel sides here, and it has another pair of parallel sides on the top and bottom. All right, so those are your parallelograms. Now, before we talk about kites, I want to talk about something else. Now, I need to show you this symbol. This symbol means that those two sides are congruent. That means they're the exact same length. Now, if I put 2, then that means those two opposite sides are congruent. Okay? So this symbol means those two sides are congruent, and these symbols means those two sides are congruent. When I say congruent means they are equal. They measure out to be the same thing. Congruent sides have the same length. They are equal. So let's say this side is 7. That means that side is 7. They're congruent, okay? Now, the reason we need to know that is because When we look at this kite here, a kite is also a polygon. It's a quadrilateral. It has 4 sides, but a kite has 2 sets of congruent sides. Okay? 2 sets of congruent sides. So for example, in this polygon here, this side is congruent to that side, meaning they're the same length, and this side is congruent to that side, meaning they're the same length. Now, in this polygon over here, it's also a kite because this side and this side are congruent. That's pair number 1. And then this side and this side are congruent. That's pair number 2. Now, all of the sides cannot be congruent. If all of the sides are congruent, then it's not a kite. It's something else. Okay? Now, the reason they call it a kite, obviously, and you probably figured this out, is because it looks like this. The thing that we fly in the sky in the wind when it's windy out is a kite. This shape is a kite because it has one set of congruent sides here and a second set of congruent sides here. That's what makes it a kite.